This is a pretty raw recording of a rehearsal for one of the Tales from the Longhouse events. The link to the Tales from the Longhouse is in the description, so come and visit.
Imagine a falcon on the clear blue of Ymir's skull. Then later, a wall that's a trap. The spear Reddener trapped the serpent's father. A debt was described, a deal was struck. The stallion's bride was sent south to snare the son of the land. Going north again, foul was the fording of the blood of the Jotun, rooted with rod to riverbed, till stone stopped the flow. Then, caught in a crush, the steerer of the sky chariot cracked the keel of the ice dwellers' soul ships. Fed tongue morsels and made unwelcome, gloved hands returned the gift with the fire's food. The spear Reddener was skewered. Then south again, the son of the land and the prodder of the peace mixed mead in the hall of the hanged god, the hall of heroes, and drank until dawn. This is the story of the poem Thor's Dropper, with additions from Snorri, or Snorri's story with quotes from Thor's Dropper. They get kind of mixed together. But it starts with a falcon flying high in the blue sky made from Ymir, the giant's skull. And the falcon lands on a high wall and looks through a window into the hall of the one called Gyrod, or Spear Reddener. And as he's looking, the falcon is looking in and seeing what's going on. And Spear Reddener looks out and sees the falcon, and a little suspicious, sends someone to grab the falcon and bring the bird down. The bird looks at the person sent to set him, or the Jotun sent to fetch him, and laughs because the hall is too high and not even the giant can reach up high enough. Then the giant comes back with a ladder, and the falcon's laughter turns to cries as he flaps his wings but can't get clear because his feet have been trapped by some magic. The Jotun brought the falcon to Spear Reddener. Spear Reddener looked in its eye and saw that the eye was not the eye of the bird. The eye was the eye of something else. So he trapped the bird in a box, for 3 months without food, just a wee bit of water so it didn't die. And after that time, the bird was ready to talk, and the bird was ready to shape change, and peeling off the falcon feathers, there was Loki, of course, up to mischief. Now, Loki was entirely at Spear Reddener's mercy, and Spear Reddener is called Spear Reddener because his spears tended to be red with blood, and the blood of his enemies. So Loki, talking quickly, thinking quickly, came to a conclusion and made a deal. So a bargain was struck. Loki would return south and would bring Thor up, just like he'd brought Thor to Jotunheim or Thor to a wedding. And Hyrod had a cunning plan. But Loki returned. And, well, when Loki returned, why would Thor listen to him? Well, perhaps it was the truth of Thor's being that presented with a challenge. It was very, very hard for Thor not to take the challenge. Perhaps it was that Loki and Thor, to some extent, are brothers. And if you break the bond of brotherhood, then, well, what else is going to start breaking? Perhaps it's just because it was Thor's nature to do these sort of things, as much as it was Loki's nature to do the other sort of things. But either way, they started heading north. And as they headed north, they stopped off for the night at the Hall of Gridr, a friend of Odin's, actually more than a friend of Odin's, and the mother of some of Odin's children as well. And Gridr knew of Spear Reddener and knew of his ways and his cunning and his, well, anyway, she thought maybe Thor might like some things to help him on his way, like some gloves, steel gloves that you can hold hot things with, and a belt. Oh yes, a belt of strength that you can wrap round you. And when Thor tried it, he felt the power flowing through him and his strength doubled. And also a staff a wand, a staff, a symbol of cedar. And this is Greider's staff, or Greider's Volsup. And this was Greider's staff. So they set off again the next morning, and they crossed through the foothills and through the forests until they came to a mighty river that flows from the mountains and so gets called the Blood of the Giants. And they found a ford at the river, and they were crossing over it with Thor putting the staff onto the shingle to help hold him, and with Loki grabbing hold onto the belt of strength so he didn't get washed away. And as they crossed the river, the flow of the water started to increase. And then everything started coming down the river. And Thor stood fast and Loki kept hold. And they looked up and they saw a Jotun, who we'll call Spew, with one leg on either side of the river, causing the flow to come down massively. Thor reached into the river and pulled out a rock and threw it. And that plugged the gap and stopped the flow. And then he grabbed with his other hand and caught hold of a rowan branch, a rowan tree, and he pulled himself up. And ever after, rowan trees have been remembered for this. Having made it across the river, you'd think they were fine. But, well, when they went to the hall of Reddener, they were lured into a tight space. Some describe it as a room with only one chair. But what's a giant's room like? Anyway, Thor sat down, happy, knackered, and rested. And his head started to spin. And as his head started to spin, the room started to change. And the ceiling looked awfully close. And then he saw that he was about to be crushed against the ceiling. So he grabbed the staff and yanked it at the rafters. And with the belt of strength and the staff, he pushed and pushed until there was a massive crack. And where he was sitting started to descend. And looking, he saw Spew and another Jotun, Grip, both standing, well, not standing, lying on the floor with their backs broken. They'd been pushing up underneath him to crush him against the ceiling and make him into Thor jam. That was bad. So, thinking that maybe there would be more entertainment to be found in a different part of the house, Thor and Loki walked in, and what should they see there but fires down either side of the hall. And maybe the fires were like lava flowing from the mountain, because standing in the middle of the hall was Reddener with a giant pair of tongs. And reaching into the fire, he pulled out a great spear length of iron and threw it at Thor. Whoosh. Thor, unwilling to snack on the food of tongs, grabbed the bar with his hand, shielded by the steel gloves, spun it round and threw it back at Reddener. Reddener had hidden behind an iron pillar, a great column of great status in the middle of the hall. But Thor threw so hard that the iron bar went straight through the pillar and straight through Reddener as well, skewering him with molten metal. Well, said Thor, looking round at Loki, if he's not going to be hospitable, perhaps we should help ourselves to some of the things he's left lying around. Ale, meat, gold, silver, everything went in the sack, and they all wandered back. And when they reached Asgard, maybe they sat down in Odin's hall with other warriors and heroes. Maybe they sat down in Valhalla. And maybe they talked about their adventure. Maybe they boasted and ate and drank. And certainly, I think, Thor would have said to Loki that that was definitely a better trip than their first trip to Jotunheim. And probably better than the trip to Jotunheim where Thor had to get married. And maybe, their natures being what they were, they came to an understanding. Thank you.
Click the links in the description to find out where you can get tickets for the next Tales for the Longhouse event. There'll be 3 stories, 3 storytellers. It'll be great to see you there.